Today we're watching the full replay of the second time that I entered the Outermost Crusade, and we're watching this at 2x speed. A big thank you to Infinite Galaxy for sponsoring this video, and let me highlight the first mistake I made. I wanted to be really close to the void barrier, and I thought like, oh, I'm near the big moon thing, and then I realized that the center of the big moon thing is where the void barrier is, so I didn't teleport exactly where I wanted, which meant I was closer to some other things. I started to park my fleets in some different positions, which I figured, whatever, come at me with the best thing you got. But the thing is that the best players from other nebulas can bring multiple fleets and kick my butt. And that's not to say you can bring multiple fleets into one stack, but I think it gets stacked on pretty good just hanging out in open space by the void barrier, which would point to the fact that you probably should be reinforcing player cities if you want to navigate somewhere rather than just being in open space. Also, I forgot to use my buffs, which was a little bit embarrassing, but the game had an ability to use your depot in this game mode, so I can only assume and hope that the buffs do in fact apply after I entered the game mode. I don't know that that's the case, though. If you do know, let me know down below in the comments. And at this point, the battle for the void barrier, I believe, is about to begin. We had a harder time taking it at the start, but once we got a handle on the void barrier, things were much better off. Now, I'm using 4 different fleets here, and I realize sort of a weirdness about my fleet configurations. You see, my very best fleet is hands down my T10 frigates. I've got the best outfitting. I've got the best everything that I've got on my frigate fleet. That is the Artemis with the Titan. I've been talking about it for quite some time, and it is quite strong. But I'm already right next to the void barrier, so my fastest fleet is my best fleet, and it's also going practically nowhere into the void barrier or supporting those efforts. My other fleets, in, I guess, perfect world, the slower fleets should be by the void barrier rather than these other fleets, but they're not as strong, and we really kind of needed our most punchy fleets at that void barrier. So my other fleets are going to places like these different steeples, and our strategy in this instance was to have different alliances from our nebula take the steeples while we go and we take the void barrier within my alliance, which I feel like was a pretty solid strategy overall. I don't know that we would run that strategy back in a future run of this, but, you know, we're just learning the game mode. This was the third round of Outermost Crusade. So this is the final round. The nebula ranking that you see in the upper left, that's going to be the final ranking for who wins, and we are Nebula 13. We are winning at this moment in time. So my second fleet that I'm using is a cruiser fleet. I've got the Cyclops, and I'm pairing it with the Hephaestus. Now, the Hephaestus gives it a little bit of speed, and some extra capacity, and obviously the Cyclops is there to just boost the ever-living heck out of cruisers. The next fleet that I have is the Hades with the Poseidon, and this is my weaker fighting fleet. It's actually, I would still consider it to be a very viable fighting fleet, but of my 3, it's my weakest because I just don't have them ranked up as much, but they're still both like, I don't know, like rank 10. I mean, it ain't bad, you know what I mean? So the Hades and the Poseidon are my third fleet, which are currently camped right now. And my fourth fleet is something that I just whipped together to just dump into the mines and collect some points. Because I'm going to lose too many warships fighting with my worst fleet. My worst fleet is the Orion, which is maxed, paired with, and it was only level 39, by the way. So maxed in terms of the skills, but not the level. And then I paired with the Odysseus, which is only rank 8. It's possible I should max out an epic flagship to go with it, but I figured that was sort of good enough. I used my T9 frigates with that, combo and hope for the best. Here, by the way, you can see we're going after the void barrier, and we are not stacking very well. And I don't know how many they have here. We're in our stack at about 50. Not feeling optimistic. Definitely looks like we're going to lose. So the thing that's weird about the void barrier in this game mode, at least at the time of this recording, is that the void barrier's capacity is equal to the highest rally capacity of any player that is in the Void Barrier. So there is, in fact, a reason to level up your Dispatch Center, because you can get a lot more players into the Void Barrier, again, at the time of this recording anyways. So here you can see we go back in, baby. We go back in for another stack, and it's still a little bit sloppy how we're stacking up here, but I think at this moment in time, what we had figured is if we just hit them back to back before they can go and refresh a bunch of fleets, maybe that will be a good play, and I think that does turn out to be a very good play, because we are going to hold on to this barrier once we get it for pretty much the remainder of the matchup, which is a good situation. The Void Barrier gives the most points, and is the whole reason that we ported our alliance around the Void Barrier, was to capture this sucker. So that really was our objective, and you can see there is going to be just a huge amount of disruption going on to the fleets that are outside of that Void Barrier area. Even some, like, I'm ambushing people, ideally trying to ambush people that are on their way home with a fleet that's sort of weak, because you got to keep in mind that when a fleet gets defeated, even the flagships will sort of accrue a repair cost, and at some point you can't use your flagship anymore unless you repair it. So it is pretty important to try to catch fleets out, do some damage, and ideally pop back into your spaceport. As I zoom back in here, get a look at where my fleets are at, you can see in this particular instance I got caught out. So I was trying to ambush fleets and they all stacked me, and that was rip me. I try to go back at them again, which was maybe a little bit bold. I don't know. I figure 1v1, I'm going to take most people and be successful with most of my fleets. The only exception is going to be another whale who's got better fleets than I do, or a stack. And here comes the stack, and there I go. I'm out of there, man. I barely escaped getting stacked there, which, like, thank goodness. And then I just attack out the other side of my spaceport and hit somebody else. And it is worth mentioning that although there are 4 different nebulas worth of fleets flying around, you can't join a stack that doesn't involve your nebula. So I'm in this stack now, so someone from my nebula can join it. But if I was watching 2 other nebulas duking it out in a stack, I can't get involved in any way until the combat resolves, and then I can attack one of the individual players that is no longer stacked at that point. That's my understanding of how all that works. So at this point, I'm doing my ambushing. I got a little fleet over here that's looking pretty spicy. And I will say that I ran really, really low on warships, but that also was kind of my goal. My goal was to inflict as much damage as I possibly can, because wait a minute, I'm probably one of the stronger players on the field. And that's not to pat myself on the back, it's just to acknowledge the fact that if you're one of the stronger players on the field, then you should not be just hiding in a data mine collecting points. You should be causing as much havoc as you possibly can, especially to players that, like, don't have the speed ups or aren't going to use the speed ups to repair their ships. I mean, I'm not going to do that. So I assume, you know, most free to play aren't going to be trying to do that because they're going to save them for something else, I assume. So anyways, if you damage enough of other people's warships, at some point you're knocking them out of the fight or making them less effective. So I'm just trying to do that now by battling in space. That's what I'm trying to get at. Meanwhile, my strongest fleet, by the way, oh yeah, and this guy was coming for me. I think he got me there. That was a player who was a whale ambushing me with his best fleet, which, yeah, it did not go well for me there. What is that? My second best fleet did not do great there. Here you can see I'm refreshing my fleet to the Void Barrier. I noticed that we're a little low. I try to get back in there. They stack me. They knock out my fleet. I have to, at this point, start, leaning on lower tiers of troops or warships, as it were. But it doesn't faze me. I'm back at the cheeseburgering, if you will, right out of my spaceport. Cheeseburgering, by the way, is a name that I've used in a number of places for, like, popping out of your city or spaceport, doing a lot of damage really quickly, and then popping back in before anyone can do anything about it. We'll see if we can make that a thing for this game, too. So I'm kind of cheeseburgering right out of my city here, so that I can keep hitting fleets from full strength for me, which is a pretty good situation. I noticed that whale's kind of hunting people as well in this area, so I think I ducked back to my spaceport, and I decided, oh, maybe I'll just wait 30 seconds and go back again. But what you see here is a move being made by another alliance from our nebula, moving in on one of the steeples, which I thought was really cool. It was really, really cool just to see like other alliances from our nebula moving in a coordinated way. We have been waiting for this for so long, and I'm so happy that this game mode is finally here. And what I will say about this game mode is that a couple things. First of all, the frequency is actually very infrequent. You only have this like once a month, which, considering that it's like only a couple hours of time, I think it's interesting that it's so infrequent. I'm okay with it because, I don't know, you make these recurring events too frequent and you kind of burn out from them, you know? So it's a bigger deal when these events happen because they're so infrequent. And I actually kind of forget where I was going with that. I'll just look back at the void barrier here, which is getting smashed. Holy moly. I think at this point we kind of achieved escape velocity. Like, I don't remember any meaningful stacks really hitting us at the void barrier. And that's the problem. If you are going to take the void barrier, you have to stack that thing. If you don't stack very quickly, all at the same time, if you slow stack, you're just going to get completely destroyed. Completely destroyed. And I accumulated a lot of points just sitting in the void barrier. And I noticed that I was not accumulating a lot of points by sitting in the different data centers. So I try to kind of extract myself from those. In fact, you'll even see sometimes I capture a data mine and then leave it so that the enemy is no longer getting points, but we aren't getting points either. But at least I'm denying the enemy from getting points. And that's because it just, with the exception of my 4th fleet, which really is not all that combat viable with literally 0 outfitting on it, awkward. Yeah, no, I mean, I want to take my main fleets and I need to be doing things with them, not parking them in a data mine. Here you can see, I think this is where a bunch of our alliance members, not alliance members, nebula members were parked by a steeple that they either were trying to take or trying to defend. And our rank is number 1 overall, and we're really kind of like breaking away as a nebula at this point, which obviously I'm like really happy about how that was going. We've got like double the score here. My individual score, I notice, is within striking distance of potentially getting a better rank than I would have based off of the first time I entered. And I kind of realized that my focus needs to be on fighting in the sort of open space to accumulate as many points as I can. So we're chilling in the void barrier. You can see all around the void barrier is complete chaos. As you might imagine, there's potentially, 4 nebulas all trying to park their fleets by the void barrier and their cities. We didn't really engage in a lot of city attacking, but it is possible that that's a valuable way to just like force an enemy out of a certain position. And that, by the way, is something that I really love about this game mode. First of all, I love the choice to make it so that you don't get any points for attacking a spaceport, because then you could just bully people, and I don't like that. But I also really like how defending your spaceport is actually relevant in this game mode. Like, I don't know if your defense towers work in this game mode. I assume they do, but it's awesome if they do, because it gives things like, boosting your, I think there's research that boosts your health and other stats when you are defending your spaceport, when you're garrisoning your spaceport. And all of that stuff suddenly, I mean, I haven't looked in the logs to confirm, but I'm pretty sure all of that becomes relevant in this game mode because you actually are at that point defending your spaceport. I don't know. I think that's really cool. I love when the things that are sort of underutilized in other parts of the game become hyper relevant, here in a way that matters. I mean, I just really like that. So yeah, I'm starting to reach at this point for lower tiers of cruisers. I figure, what the heck, I'll just park in this auto mine and then go from there. I'm looking around. Void barrier is relatively secure. You can see that my fleet that's parked in one of those mines is getting pretty beat up at this point. It's at 50%. I don't know where my destroyer fleet is at this moment. It's parked in something. I'm not looking at it right now to know what. Here you can see my Orion Odysseus is in big trouble. This next fleet will probably take me out there. And, oh, here we go. I'm chasing somebody else down. I actually am ambushing someone who was trying to ambush someone from my own nebula. It's kind of cool. You may remember the Cow Alliance was the first alliance that we went to war with in this game. That's right. Card will be up in the top. But there was a player from the Cow Alliance. I was actually really impressed with the number of alliances. Just like random alliances from our nebula that had like a couple players show up and actually just take a mine and just sit in the mine. Because that's points for the nebula, right? Like, it's awesome. That was actually really cool. Here I am just super harassing a supply line. And, yeah, it's actually like very disruptive to be doing that. What's happening now? Void barrier is under attack. But I think a part of the reason, by the way, that my warships stay really healthy in the void barrier is that the Titan gives me extra range. So I don't think I'm one of the targets that gets prioritized, which is really quite nice. One of the perks of that flagship. Now, you still have people in your nebula who are getting hit. It's just you're not the one tanking, I guess. But given that I do so much damage with my T10s, like, I don't know. Is that the worst? What do you think? Getting a quick look around, I can see that, there we go. I have my cruisers at home. Cruisers are a little slow. I really struggled with, do I put my cruisers in the void barrier and fight with my frigates, which are fast and stronger, or do I need my strongest fleet in the void barrier? And I decided to just keep my strongest fleet in the void barrier. That's what I'm doing here. Just kind of looking at the screen here. So much chaos. What do I see here? A couple stacks with 20 million? But we have a stack of 157 million? They're up to 31 million? I mean, there's no way that that's going to go well for them. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I've got my fleet kind of moving there. I'm on my way to that auto mine. And you can see all those yellow lines is once again another alliance from our nebula kind of making a move here. By the way, do you know, let me know in the comments, if we take a steeple, does that benefit the whole nebula or just the alliance that holds it? I don't actually know how that works. I got a little ambush over here off to the side going on. Taking out some fleets. And you can see, yep, our nebula members are cruising along. Pun not intended. I'm on my way to that auto mine. So is an enemy. That enemy's from kind of far away. Am I just going to take it? Oh, yeah, now I'm mining it. So maybe I'll just wait till they fight me. Maybe that's my play. Do I want to refresh my fleet here? Ooh, here we go. Somebody's going for me in an auto mine. And I pop out to hit somebody. Okay. Nice. I mean, I don't know how, in fact, I would be curious to hear how your nebula is playing this game mode. But when we play it, we are all in voice. So when I say, like, how are we playing it? What I mean is that we're mostly just hanging out in voice, talking. All alliances represented. And that doesn't mean everyone is in voice. Let's be real. But I think a pretty significant number of players are, which, like, oh my God, it helps coordination so much. Don't mind me hydrating here. A little bit of seltzer. What is this? Lime flavored. Let's go. Okay. So I'm doing some mining. In hindsight, I really questioned my life choices every time I was mining. I suppose it's a reasonable choice once I'm down to like only lower tiers of warships to just drop it into a mine. That also seems like another really good reason to do that. We're still in first. And if you didn't notice the message that flashes across the screen, I actually think it's pretty hilarious. If you're not in first place, the game is like, try harder. It's everybody else should try harder. This nebula is winning. Try harder. It's actually pretty funny. I think they're just trying to alert you to the fact that, like, hey, if you don't you know, do something, you're not going to win. Here we see the Geckos occupied the Quantum Steeple. Took it from 09. And hello, look at that. Look at this. So our Nebula's got a group over there. And the enemy Nebula had a group moving through. It's pretty cool. I guess they're still just collecting. They're just watching it happen. Oh, yeah, no. They're staring off with... oh, there it is. Having a little staring contest with Nebula 14 and then diving right in. Woo! Okay. Oh, yeah, well, that's a serious dive by a Rush over there. I can't exactly help him, but I can pick off one of these fleets, which I do. Maybe I'll get another one, too. Using those destroyers, baby. Hades, Poseidon. Hades for the punch, Poseidon for the tank. Oh, I'm in trouble. They got a lot of people coming for me. Oh, man. Yeah, I let my fleet just auto-retreat home there, I guess. Try to get out of the way. I'm trying to knock one fleet out. I'm trying to ambush somebody who's not paying attention. I'm not trying to get myself stacked. But I am pretty aggressive with that play, to be honest. That's really aggressive. Wow, and it paid off. Took him out. Am I just going to hit the next one? Yeah, I'm just going to hit the next one. Got him. Oh my god, so aggressive. But you can see the power of just hitting that back line. It's really quite significant. And there's another ambush. Dude, I am just chowing down right now on low fleet after low fleet. Oh my gosh. And before people hate on this, like, it is a strategy to wear a Nebula out, and you wear out their free-to-play first, because they probably have less warships, and then it makes everybody more vulnerable when they try to stack with the remaining warships that are left in the Nebula. Do you see what I mean? So, like, I get it, that might be frustrating, but I also just want to point out that, like, the meta is what it is, and I think that that's a meta tactic to sort of wear an enemy Nebula out of warships. My opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm right, just an opinion, okay? Here we are. By the way, that idea of wearing out an enemy Nebula of warships, if you extend that a little bit, like, there could be something to be said for, like, just stacking on low power spaceports and just completely eliminating their ability to participate. It is possible that is a tactic, but we didn't do that. And I didn't try it. And look at this. I'm out of warships. At least out of the ones that I need here. I don't even know what assortment of weirdness I put with that fleet. But the Hephaestus doesn't care. It's only the Cyclops that actually cares a lot about, hey, what kind of warship do you have? And also it's my outfitting that kind of cares a lot. But my outfitting on that, on basically everything except my Artemis Titan combo, is kind of a mixed bag, to be honest. I am just solely focused on the one fleet, in part because, hey, you can only have one fleet in the Void Barrier, but also because that transfers really well to something like the Galaxy Summit, where, again, you only have one fleet. And I think I got myself stacked here. Is that what happened? Did I barely survive? I barely survived. Wow. I barely survived, and now I ambush them, but then they get me back here. They're stacking me. Oh, yeah, I'm done for. I mean, it's interesting. All it takes is one player to flip the balance one way or another. And, yeah, here, we're in big trouble. We're getting super stacked by 007 over here. Yeah, Nebula 7's just... They got a 30 mil on me right now. We're done. It is what it is, you know? Sometimes you get caught out. You got to take risks to try to catch them out, though. And in a perfect world, if I was more ready, I would have ambushed any one of those fleets, like by popping right back out of my city. And if they weren't paying attention, I could have got one fleet, maybe two of them, and pop back in, while the rest sort of automatically retreat back to their spaceports, you know? So just getting a look around here. I'm parked in at least one mine. I'm parked in the Void Barrier. See another mine, and I guess I'm going to go for it. That's interesting. If you wanted, you could not broadcast the fact that you're going to attack literally anything on the map. This works for a steeple. This works for an auto mine. but you would avoid broadcasting it by targeting next to it, moving there, and then attacking, and then they can't react, you know? But the second you actually attack whatever it is that you're targeting, you give them a warning, that little alert on the screen that says, like, hey, you're about to get attacked. Speaking of which, look at this ambushception going on right here. They're trying to ambush my Nebula member, and I ambush them instead. GG. All right. Yeah, my fleet's cruising around. Can I get that guy? Got him. Oh, yeah. GG again. Man. I mean, the ambushing was just super real. It's almost like if you get a nice cluster of spaceports in an area, there's almost like a certain radius that is dangerous for you to enter. And I think here I get pwned because I get stacked. But I just keep sending into that same area. I don't know why. I guess I'm close enough that I just go for it. The other thing is that we're reaching kind of the end of the match at this point. And so I'm trying to get as many points as I possibly can. Even though, like, I'm taking some fights that are going to get me wrecked. Yep, here we are. I'm getting stacked again. If I were doing this all over again, I probably would be more careful of how I was stacking there. Okay. So at this point in the match, warships are getting more and more scarce. The only thing I had enough of, weirdly enough, was a lot of T9 frigates. I ended up having kind of a remarkable amount of T9 frigates at the sort of end of things here. Which, by the way, makes me really glad that I'm using those in that Orion fleet. That is a good use for that epic flagship for sure. Actually makes me really happy to have that. And I think there's a balance to be struck here, depending on how many warships you have. For us, in our nebula, like, we have a lot, just because we're an old nebula, we've had a lot of time to accumulate warships, you know? But if you were lower on warships, then you would probably run around with fewer flagship pairs to try to conserve and get the best trades possible. But if you're higher on warships, then obviously you use weaker and weaker flagship combos to just be in more places. That's the way I would sort of think about how many fleets should I ultimately be using in this game mode. And, you know, as I review this, I feel like when I played this, this was probably like the second most fun experience I've had, this particular match, in Infinite Galaxy. The most fun experience was the very first time I entered it, for like the very first time ever. That was like my favorite Infinite Galaxy experience by far, when we're just like figuring it out all on our own and just struggling our way through it. But then this was my second most fun. My third most fun Infinite Galaxy experience was probably the first time that I did a Galaxy Summit. That probably is it. And my fourth most fun experience is probably a really, really, really close Galaxy Summit where we win by just like the tiniest margin. Those are probably some of my most fun experiences in this game so far. Here, I mean, I'm in some stack trying to get points here toward the end of this thing. Keep in mind that I don't think you get any points for a stack that's still happening when the Outermost Crusade ends. I've only got, no time left. Looks like it's over. There we go. Spartan was the MVP for our Nebula, and I got the second rank overall, it looks like, from our Nebula? Is that what that means? Our Alliance got number 1 for Alliance, and overall we got first as a Nebula, which was really cool. If you enjoyed this video, throw a like on here, consider subscribing for Infinite Galaxy videos designed to help you get value and smash your enemies. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this game mode, and until next time, you have fun smashing your Nebula.